Hello everybody, I'm in my potting shed down here at Greystone Gardens, and inside here it feels like spring. Things are starting to move. Outside is a different story. We've got some light snow scattered on the ground and it is freezing. However, for plants, if they're indoors, if they're 50, 60, 70 degrees and the daylight gets longer and longer, which it is, as soon as the days get longer, a lot of them start moving. Perhaps the most important thing with houseplants is watering and how to do it. I'm going to give you some tips that will show you just to be careful about not overwatering and certainly not underwatering plants. First thing I'm going to suggest getting a water meter. The soil at the top all looks the same, and I'm thinking they're all dry. So I'm going to give you an idea. I'm going to push it into the soil here. And even though this looks dry at the top and the soil has shrunk, it's telling me it's around about a 5. Whereas this chap, the Tiger Aloe, I'm pushing it in. It's not moving. It feels so crunchy and dry. However, the plant still looks okay. And here we go, Pothos, and let's see what this one is reading. And he's right up there, he's a 7. So typically I wouldn't really be interested in watering it when it's a 7. And I go to my geranium, and he's very much on the dry side, which is okay. But geraniums are Mediterranean plants, and they can actually handle the drought pretty well. I want to show you some techniques now in watering. Well, the first technique is fairly obvious, and everyone knows about watering cans. Houseplants, a longer spout allows you to get between the foliage and find the soil. It's a good idea not to water the leaves too much, and you just water away, and you think, oh, that's enough, and you water away in this one. But this one, when the soil gets very dry, the soil will shrink away from the pot, and there's a gap all around the end. So if you're not too careful, you're pouring the water in, and the water will roll along the edge, down the side, and out the bottom, and you may not be doing such a good job as you think you are. Plants like the cactus, you could probably go a month without watering that inside. So the ivy, though, does need a bit more consistent moisture, and this one is pretty dry. What we're going to do is dunk it, pushing it down into the water, and you'll see bubbles coming up. And if you take it out again, it's still not quite as heavy, so dunk it again and wait for all the air bubbles to go away. For plants that are a little bit more fussy, you don't really want to dunk them in too much moisture, you can do a technique of putting them in a saucer of water. Now this works particularly well if you've got like a clay pot. The roots will suck up a little bit. You may have to leave it for a few hours. The clay pot, though, will change color. You can see there, once the clay gets wet, it does change. So that can indicate how well something is watered. You mustn't keep certain things wet, because it will cause a rot, especially in a cold house. So you could leave that to soak up from the bottom. Plants like African violets that don't want water on the top, you certainly use this technique. But African violet pots have their own little saucer underneath it built in. So after you've given your plants a thorough water, you can come around with your water meter and check that they are at 10, then let them dry out. Now, one of the things you might notice, I've got a plant over there, I'm just going to grab it and bring it towards you. Peperomia. And this is just showing some new growth at the top. But what you're seeing, especially this leaf here, is that some of the older leaves start losing their color. Now that is a little cue for me to tell me a little kind of clue that the plant is a little short on nitrogen, because nitrogen in the plant can be robbed from these old leaves and moved up to the new growth. So if you see a lot of the old leaves going yellow, it might be a clue that you want to start fertilizing. I'll put him back. I tend to like this. This is an old company, Schultz Plant Food. It's a liquid food specially designed for houseplants. It's got the macronutrients in it, but it's also got micronutrients. You want to put like 14 drops per quart. And they say that the whole tube is 14 drops. So I've done that in one go. Give it a good swirl, and then you can start watering your plants. What I want to show you now is some little fun thing I like to do with these geraniums. You can overwinter them. And this one is particularly interesting because I'm training it as a topiary. This is actually the citronella or mosquito plant. So it's got all this new growth going in there. What I want to do with my technique is to try and get it to be a little bit more compact and the leaf's not quite so vigorous. So I've trained the stem up like this, and I'm going to attach the bamboo just to keep it straight. What I'm going to do now is try and reduce its size a little bit. The yellow leaves, you could just pluck off with your hand. They're going to fall off, so I'm going to tidy it up, anything dead. Now, what we're going to do is try and stunt the growth. Now, all this vigorous growth, I'm going to cut off. And hopefully the new shoots will be a little smaller. I'm using a little pair of snippers. I'm going to put it down there. You can really smell that citronella smell. They really are wonderful. So I'm kind of going to get this for a dining table. So I'm going to put it in the middle, and hopefully, if we're eating outside, some of that citronella smell will deter our mosquito friends or enemies. If you could be 70 degrees in a warm, sunny room, that would be great, and it will come into flower pretty quickly. So I'll push that to the side. All right, what to do with our little cuttings? It's that time of year. I'm going to just strip off the lower leaves. I always like, I don't know if it makes sense or not, but I always do a diagonal cut on the bottom. It helps you push the plant in. I'm going to just dip them in some water, wet the bottoms, and when you stick them into the powder, give them a little bit of a shake, and then push them into the soil, and then firm down with your fingers. One thing the rooting powder does have, it often has a fungicide in it, and that can stop some rotting. Now, there's lots of plants you can try this with. Another good tip is to invest in a heating mat, a plant for germinating seeds, but also plants like this. If it's on a mat that keeps it at 75 degrees, the warmth will come up in the root zone and help produce new roots much, much quicker. With your plant starting to grow, also the insects might be on the reproductive cycle as well. I always keep it's a houseplant insecticide, so I'm looking, I haven't spotted anything yet, fingers crossed, touch wood. I tend to use those little yellow sticky things that are available anywhere. Poor little insect, when it's flying around to find another plant, will get attracted to the yellow, stick there, and not be able to get off. But it tells you they are around, and you should be watching out a bit closely. You're not going to get everyone, but it's a matter of numbers. If you keep them down to a certain amount, they aren't a nuisance. So what have I got to do? I've got to have my faithful friend by my side. Looks like I've got a few plants to check. This will take me a few hours. Well, thanks very much for watching.